Let's have everybody find a seat. We're going to start in just a couple minutes. You got quiet so fast, I think we'll start in 30 seconds instead. I just want to tell you about the organization that's putting on the debate tonight. I'm a member of what's known as the Apologetics Research Society, and we're a group, a board and a group who are dedicated to defending the truths of the faith. Some people have asked this weekend, since we're having an international apologetics conference, they've asked, what is apologetics anyway? Is that where you say, oh, I'm really sorry for what I believe in? No, that's not. Apologetics is the system of truths of Christian doctrine. And so we've been having this conference all weekend. I know some of you have been to it. We've had some great talks, speakers from around the country, archaeologists, scientists, philosophers, theologians, but sponsored the writing of books. We have lots of materials back there. On the left, some books written by myself. And anyway, we're just really excited and really feel privileged to bring together three, I believe, preeminent scholars. What is my job is to introduce one of the members of the board of the which is Kedron Jones. Kedron is going to really brought together our speakers and really did a lot of work to put the event together tonight. So anyway, Kedron's going to get up here now and he's going to explain sort of the ground.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. And I'd like to serve as a board member of the Society, and it is great to be here. Today, Jewish, Muslim, or cameras during the debating time, because the issue here, each debater will be speaking and they are also timed. And from that time on, if anyone is using any obscene words, gestures, or anything like that, it really does slow down the time of the debate. So, with that, what I'd like to do at this point is introduce what the structure of the debate is tonight. He's going to be introducing, actually, this portion. Jacoby is an international Christian teacher who's spoken in 80 nations and a principal instructor of the Athens Institute of Ministry. Harvard degree has interest in the truth of Christianity with individuals such as Michael Shermer. In addition to that, is his keen knowledge of theology, the apologetics. He spent many of his theologies. The second individual who will be speaking currently is the president of the Islamic Information Center in Toronto, Canada, where he functions as imam. Mr. Ali travels internationally to represent Islam in public lectures and interfaith dialogues and speak. Mr. Ali also holds a bachelor's degree in religious studies, and also he has a master's degree in religious studies from the University of Toronto with a specialization in Quranic exegesis. He's also studying his PhD. Please help me to welcome Imam Shabir Ali. Third but not least is Rabbi Shmuley Botaic, scheduled to come up and speak, and he represents Judaism. Many of you probably are familiar with a lot of his works. He's the host of the International Shalom in the Home that airs on TLC, and 18 books. In Oxford, where he served as rabbi, he served with students for 11 years, played host to and debated some of the world's leading thinkers, statesmen, entertainers, including Stephen Hawking, Rabbi Shmuley Botaic. Now, each presenter of this debate has 12 minutes to do an opening statement to present a case for why they're speaker or both speakers. From that point, each speaker will have 8 minutes to rebut or use their rebuttals against one. We'll have a 10-minute short break. After the break, we'll come back and we'll have a second rebuttal that will last for 5 minutes, and then everyone will have a chance to do a question and answers period. The mic is right here on my left, and then what I'll do is I'll explain during that time the rules of the debate. From that point, each of the participants will basically summarize their point. And with that, I want to, at this point in time, bring up Dr. Yourself for the debate. Dr. Jacoby.
Thank you. This evening, Shabir, it's great to meet you in person. You're very warm, very kind. My initial contact with you was through YouTube. You didn't know it, but I was looking at you many times. And you're even better in person. And Shmuley, it's a great honor. I was buying one of your books 3 months ago. I was at Borders and I was checking out and I put it on the counter. And the girl said, favorite. And I said, yeah, months. She said, why? I said, where I fell, I felt like such a heel, such a creep. But thank you. May the Lord bring good this evening out of this three-way debate. The solidarity of the Jewish people, professor at Duke University, it was 53. Is it really a prophecy of the Messiah? He made me think. I even became a Christian during those classes. In New Jersey, where I grew up, comparing notes. So I'm a Christian. You're a Muslim, and here's my Bible, and here's my Bible, and here's how I pray. And he prayed every day. He actually faiths, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity make truth claims. I don't know that. And yet each faith claims to represent God uniquely. To declare that in Hebrews 20, it says, shoots in his ordinances to Israel. He has not dealt this way with any nation. As for his ordinances, they have not known them. Not be accepted, for will be one of the losers. The New Testament as well makes some very exclusive claims. John 14:6, Acts 4:12. Jesus will be judged by my words. John 12:47. There's the warning. Don't believe a new revelation, even if an angel were to come and update the gospel. So what do you do when you have competing truth claims? Well, you examine the evidence. That's what you do. Not with a lazy-minded attitude that excuses itself under the pretext of some kind of politically correct tolerance. That's not tolerance at all. It's just weak thinking. All three insist there's a right debate. It's not about who's most sincere or who's the nicest. I don't know who would win that. It's about what's true. It's about truth. What is the legacy of Abraham? 4,000 years ago, Abram had sons. Genesis 15, verse 6, where the Lord said stars, if you can count them, so faith, even to the point of being willing to sacrifice his son in Genesis chapter 2. Example, in the Christian scriptures in James chapter 2, of together. Faith without actions is not faith. Faith without is worthless. The legacy of preserving many of the classics that were being lost in the West. It's not just the Irish who saved civilization, you know. I first read the Quran 30 years ago, much of it from the Bible. But the Quran assumed that you knew the Bible stories. The passages on Abraham, for example, were scattered widely throughout the Quran. But you had to know the Hebrew scriptures to get it. It wasn't easy. A few months ago, in preparation for this evening, I reread the Quran for the third time, carefully. But these impressions, somewhat of the biblical references and somewhat the chaos of the organized contents were very obtusely arranged. Dashti was tortured to death by the regime in Iran in 1982. Some passages on this last reading touched me, like in Surah 90 about freeing the slave or adopting. I think we can learn something from Muslims there. To be honest, the first time I read the Quran, Christianity was in a mess. It's virtually a tritheistic religion, worldly, corrupt. Muhammad is used to clean up Arabia, not just the sad state of Christendom there. And I got pretty excited. I related to that. Passion is good, but where's the respect for the individual? I don't have time to refer us to Surah 4, where we read about women, the passage about beating your wives. It's pretty famous. In your book, Common Questions, you did not deal directly with that passage, Shabir. You referred to that put Muhammad in a fairly positive light. But there are things like that that concern me even more. The lack of political freedom in Islam. Why? What is happening? Violence is to political. Have publicly taken a stand against violence, against terrorism. I'm talking about the religion. Is this the legacy of Abraham when it does this? And yet, strand is actually in the Quran itself. I quote from Surah 22. Whoever retaliates with the like of that with which he is afflicted and oppressed, Allah will certainly help him. In other words, it's okay about people being exiled, crucified, having limbs amputated, and other terribly disturbing things. In the words of a journalist from Saudi Arabia, a Muslim journalist named Abdul Rahman al-Rashid, it is a certain fact that not all Muslims are terrorists, but it is equally certain and exceptionally painful that almost all terrorists are Muslims. Painful words. Theocratic states don't work. Christendom tried that from the 4th century for 1400 years. It was a flop. The Jewish people had a theocratic state for also about 1400 years. It didn't go so well according to their own prophets. Interesting also, for 1400 years has been politics and religion. Perhaps it will be countered that Christians have done worse. And I will quickly agree. In fact, I'd say they probably did more harm. But when Christians did so, they ignored the clear teachings of their founder. Because Jesus said violence, hatred, and killing are absolutely forbidden. Yet when the Muslims did so, they were actually following their prophet in his example and in the scriptures. Of course, with Judaism, the one God, the monotheistic, the transcendent, the eminent, of the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, and worse in future centuries. It's amazing. Judaism, I think I agree, is very much like a moral conscience to the world, reminding us that there are absolutes, there is a God, and there is different faiths. In spawning Christianity and Islam, Judaism has largely fulfilled its mandate. Page 278, Jesus for everyone. Would you actually say that all three of these faiths are the legacy of Abraham, Rabbi Shmuley? So why become Jewish at all? We're not trying to convert anybody. But I take this as a tacit admission that somewhere the original dream has failed. The dream of the Gentiles submitting to God, and more of the church are Jews. Through David to Abraham. This is the subject of most of Matthew chapter 1, the first chapter of the New Testament. I can't divide credit here, but the Judeo is the foundation for modern science. And I also add, social Christians and Jews is proverbial. But above all, in Christianity we have a personal relationship with God, based experientially on the incarnation through Jesus Christ. This connects with Genesis 12, verse 3. Thus, I would argue, is the true legacy of Abraham. It encompasses the best of Judaism, stands on its view. Islam is not the legacy of Abraham. Judaism should be, and Christianity is.
At this time, I will bring up Shabir Ali for his spoken opening statement.
For bringing us together tonight in such a memorable occasion. This trialogue will be in my memory, I believe, for a long time. My co-participants in this trialogue have allowed with their persons of such great eminence. And I want to thank the organizers of this debate to represent the Muslim side, and I particularly want to thank Kedra on board. He's such a nice gentleman. Tonight's engagement reminds me of a classic joke. The joke is about the priest, the rabbi, and the imam, and here we are tonight. Well, the three are on a boat fishing, and one of them says, well, something. So the priest walked across the lake, went ashore, and he came back walking across the lake. And the rabbi said, well, I forgot something too. And he got out of the boat, he walked across to prove the validity of his own faith, said, well, I've got to do this too. So he stepped right out of the boat and plunged right into the water. So the priest leaned over to the rabbi and asked, do you think we should let him know where the rocks are? Well, dialogue is not about where the rocks are, but it's about where the proof of religion lies. It's about looking at scriptural revelation. It's looking at the Bible and at the Quran, looking at verses that deal with the issues of great importance for the Quran, we believe, to be the word of came as a revelation, we believe, to the entire world. Well, is it just by feeling or by sincerity of things a number of times that will give evidence to some sort of plan or design? The Quran came to be available over its history. One will see that the Quran was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, in a piece at a time over a period of 23 years, reflecting on and commenting on occasions as they arise. Occasions that could not be predicted in advance, especially put to the Prophet, peace be upon him, he launched against the religion of Islam. The Quran comments on this a bit at a time. Eventually, this history was put together in an ad hoc way. Some have said it looks like the Quran has hurriedly been pieced together without any care to how it is being organized. And yet we notice today that the Quran has features that show that there is an internal design that was not known to human beings until our past century. In 1938, an Egyptian scholar by the name of Fuad Abdul Baqi produced a concordance of the Quran listing all of the words of the Quran and Quran. So that makes it easy for a student like myself to find things in the Quran. But then we can also see at a glance how many times we're discovering it now, and this seems to be the plan of God. For what with whom I debated, things are actually pre-programmed to do math, we grant that. And that's only one example of things that appear in the Quran to have been designed to come up a book, any book, and you ask for the sake of trivia, how many times does this book use the word day? And what are the chances that it will come out to be exactly 365 on it? And had this been the only example, just a coincidence. But there are so many examples of this nature, looking here really at the handiwork of God. The third point I'd like to make in favor of the Islamic, connected with common images we notice of Muslims, is Muslims bowing down with their faces